So my name is Ashish Mehta. I run the data analytics practice for Infosys globally.
Oh, sure.
And along with me are two esteemed speakers with me who are going to be on the panel. Venkata from Southern Gas and Anup, who runs our data and AI governance practice. And before I hand it over to them, I will actually set the stage for the topic that we're going to present. So the topic is that unlocking AI's potential, and is your enterprise data ready from an AI perspective? And to tell you the truth, this topic was actually discussed quite a lot in the keynote also, that enterprise data landscape is not ready for AI, and this is what Databricks can do, this is what our partners can do. But if you talk about AI, how long we as people have been talking about AI? I mean, Hollywood has been talking about for the last 40 years. I mean, pure form of AI with what you call Sentinel and Matrix and Skynet, right? Skynet, 1984, Terminator, the pure form of AI that exists. Where are we? Where are we? I mean, 40 years ago, like Hollywood envisioned that this is a pure form of AI out there. But how long, in 40 years from now, enterprises are nowhere near to do any kind of pure form of AI out there. Actually, unless you are a AI-born native company, you're not even there at all. So, and actually we did a recent survey with 1,100 top global 2,000 companies. And each one of them came by, and this is a result of that, about 26% of the executives, while the funding has increased almost twofold, the number of LLMs coming out are 70, 78% more, but the executives in the AI world are actually less than 25%, less than the quarter are actually happy with the progress they are making, and less than 25% of actually less than 5% of the POCs that are going on are going into production. And the fundamental reason is you do a POC, you prove the point, but your data is not ready to do AI. And I'll talk about that in detail. So take an example of enterprise data. What is enterprise data? It is just not analytical data. Analytical data in which you do AI is just 2% of the data. But there's a whole bunch of user-generated data, the videos, the files, the photos, the transactional data, the ERP, the ecosystem data, the synthetic data, the training data, and the machine-generated data. Apart from that, this is a new set of data sets. But what about the IMS data set, the mainframe data sets, the AS400? They have also not gone anywhere. And none of that data is actually, if you try to do the AI on that, people have no idea how to do that. You cannot even catalog that data out there. Forget about fingerprinting. Fingerprinting is a key concept of AI. We are not able to even catalog the data. So all these mushrooming of the POCs happen, and when the POCs come back and say that, hey, I proved my business point, then you have to go to the point of, hey, can you, how about trust, privacy, ethics? How about making sure that you are not going across the discriminatory lines or following the law and all that? For that, you have to do continuous validation of the data. So these mushrooming of the POC and doing all those things separately for each and every AI POC is going to be very costly. Result, the TCO of taking it to AI or taking it to production goes through the roof. So now what is the solution for that? So what Infosys believes is that we need to bring all data into one AI management. While the hyperscalers and the data and all the hyperscalers say, hey, bring all the data into S3 or bring all this data into ADLS. But trust me, the CISO will not allow the video file, the email, the whole email repositories, the AS400 data, the synthetic data to move into S3 or ADLS. So the solution for that we propose is that, hey, you have one single place to do AI management for the whole enterprise data without actually moving the data. So the things like doing fingerprinting, cataloging, vertically integrated functions, or doing ethical check audits from a AI perspective, all done by one single place, and rather than all 50 different teams doing it separately. So this is, and what do we talk about AI management? Let's talk about that. So when we talk about the AI management, we say that, hey, this is a solution. This is actually the blueprint of the solution that we have put together to do AI management in one single place. So you have enterprise data at the bottom, and it goes through smart processing where the cataloging, fingerprinting is happening. You actually then do vertical integration of the data based on marketing, sales, or whatever your business functions are. Then you set up the necessary governance from the ethics, privacy, and all that, and also do the democratization. So this solution is actually going to manage the data across the enterprise. So let's say your sales or marketing or your asset management or your finance needs the data. They will not go and grab the data. They will actually ask this AI management solution to tell me where the data is. This is the tell me where the data is. How do I reach to this data? This is the fingerprinting I need on this. These are the ethical and the ethical, privacy, and other things that I have to worry about. So the complete AI management is done by the central thing. So this significantly optimizes, and this is done by the CD organization. And today in the session, we'll talk about how other enterprises, including Southern Gas, and of course, some of the examples from Anup, from the industry, how they are doing it. And in order to support this, we have a whole bunch of solutions and use cases to support us. There's one point I want to bring out. So what are the core components of one AI management? Of course, the core components, as in the Pentagon, is the data. It needs to be discoverable, available, the ecosystem part of it, the whole process part of it, the people and the platform part of it. All these things need to work together. And in order to make this Pentagon work together, it needs to be driven through an AI strategy. An AI strategy which is not only laying out the strategy from a business perspective to realize the AI vision, but at the same time also throughout the life cycle, making sure that the value from a business perspective is continuously measured and maximized. Second part is the governance, and we're going to talk about governance today, that how to transform from a data governance to an AI governance. But the key part is that the volume of data, the variety of data, and all these going to be significantly increasing. The governance in traditional ways is done through rules, done through workflows. That cannot happen. You have to bring autonomous means to actually drive this governance. Again, we'll talk those things in details. And let me bring in my esteemed guest here. And let me give a quick intro of our guest. Number one is Venkat. Venkat actually runs data analytics for a utility company, the gas company. And last 3 days, I was prepping with them, and I suddenly realized that, wow, I see gas as I open the gas and comes out, and he told me about how this thing happens in a safety manner. And so Venkat is actually 20 years in the industry, and he has been all along driving data and today AI solutions for gas. Of course, second is Anup. Anup runs our data and AI practice, and he will talk about how the AI and data governance goes into action with enterprises. So Venkat, the first question is with you. So we spoke about it, and actually, and you told me about a lot of things. So where is Southern Company with respect to AI adoption, and what are the key business problems or business initiatives which Southern Company is taking up from an AI perspective, or plans to take up from an AI perspective? And not just and based on your vast experience, you may not even just talk about Southern Company, but actually your industry in general, because this is a very intriguing business and not so understood by everybody. Go ahead, Venkat.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for inviting me. This has been a decent long journey to get to where we are. I'll share who I am and where I am coming from. So I'm coming from Southern Company, which is a energy and utilities company. It's one of the largest ones in the US. We serve about 9.9 million customers across multiple states. We provide energy for businesses and households in Southeast, mostly on the Southeast, as well as in Virginia and Northern Illinois. We have electricity, gas, carbon-free nuclear, solar, as well as wind power, as well as battery storages. And so R&D is on, right, in terms of finding carbon-free energy sources. So the evolution of the energy mix in itself is a great story. We recently brought online a couple of carbon-free nuclear power plants. They're referred to as Vogtle 3 and Vogtle 4 in Georgia area. And they represent, I mean, after 35, 40 years in US, those were brought in, none of that kind has happened in the last 30, 40 years. So the journey towards net zero and the company's goals and the work that is being done to achieve those goals, we are very proud of. We are also very proud to say that Fortune magazine considers Southern Company as the most admired utility company among electricity and gas companies. We see that on a day-to-day basis while working within the system, but when outside agencies appropriately identify that and share that, we are very proud of that. Now, within that footprint, Southern Company Gas, so we have about 7 different, what we call operating companies and local distribution companies within the Southern Company footprint. 4 of those are electric, and 3 of them are electric, and 4 of them are natural gas. So I mostly focus on providing technology solutions to the gas side of the business. However, we are very collaborative. We're working within the system across all the different teams, be it electric, be it gas, to share and make progress on these innovative ideas that we build on. So within the context of gas, we have 4 different local distribution companies. We serve Northern Illinois, Tennessee, Georgia, as well as Chattanooga, Tennessee, Virginia, Northern Illinois, and Georgia. So those are 4. And so, like many companies, we grew from organic growth within utility as well as mergers and acquisitions. So as you can imagine, they all come from with a relatable set of challenges, right? The data sets are siloed, so because every company had their own way of managing data. So the data management and data analytics landscape, I would say, has been siloed. And so when we started looking at that and to leverage the new technologies, we first need to solve that problem. So that's how we started and worked towards putting in place a strategy and then first identifying, developing that strategy around 2019 and implementing that since that 2019 time period. So it's a 4-year journey. We have done at least 4 or 5 use cases, the 2 of which have been productionalized and been running for a few years now. They are, you can imagine, as a utility company, we want to improve customer satisfaction. Safety is our #1 priority, so we are always looking to identify ways to improve safety and keep our systems reliable. So that's where, so far, I can share more as we go.
Yeah. Thanks, Venkat. So, Anup, coming to you, and this is going to be a very interesting discussion. So I was talking about this, giving an example to one of our customers on Skynet and Terminator, and then we were discussing that, look, this is what the world imagined, and you know what the customer said? He said, you know, if I were to redo that movie, I will feed Terminator to my data and he will collapse. You don't have to kill it, you just have to feed my data out there. So if he were to do this movie right now, he will say that, oh, come and drink my AS400 and IBM data, and you will be killed right away. And this is where basically the question goes in, Anup. Look, without data and AI, data governance has always been important. But now with the advent of AI, the AI governance is going to be key. So #1, what exactly is the difference between data and AI governance? And second, I mean, the data is so huge and so much in variety. You cannot just do through manual means, as I mentioned earlier, through rules. So what autonomous technologies we would like to bring in to manage that?
Thanks for that question. Before I directly jump into the difference between data and AI governance, let me just put a little bit context. And why context is important, probably I'll be able to explain when I talk about it. So let me just talk about myself first, and that's part of context. So I have been leading this particular practice, data governance practice, since 2015. And I still remember 2014, 13 days when from a data governance perspective, or data governance as a practice or as a terminology wasn't existing at that point of time, or it wasn't popular. So how did we, or what we used to do at that time? So if we think about from a data governance perspective, today we see catalogs are there. Catalogs in the sense, the data elements, associated technical metadata, then we push the business metadata to it, we create data lineage, and then the business terms are there, right? And all are interlinked, plus policies, plus who are the owners of those particular data elements, those all things. Now imagine if data governance tool was not there, how we used to do. So I'm talking about 2014 or 13 days. I used to do that on Excel. So basically there were multiple sheets were there, and all those sheets were linked with each other. And I still remember my conversation with one of the market leaders, Colibra Data Governance, in 2015 when we started partnership with them. And that's where actually, and they only had one business glossary, which is like business term. Basically all business users comes and say, okay, like sales or sale date. They will just like put certain definitions to it. And that's where actually I had a conversation with Colibra, and that's where the ideas came in. So the way we have developed over the period of time data governance, and I see this entire data governance as one of the, I would say, industries or within the industry, a kind of capability which has developed significant ideas which has gone from me and my team basically, or rather Infosys. And wherever I go, the people I meet, they are either somewhere related to us or we have worked with them. Now, why this context is important? I see the same trend going in AI governance as well. Now, again, another part of the context, why AI governance? That's more important before understanding the difference between two. Think in this way, I give this metaphor to everybody, and I was just thinking about this Terminator thing. Countries says that, okay, we are building missiles and bombs, and there will be like a value which will be driven out of it, saying that I'm safeguarding my people are safe, my people will be able to prosper, they will be able to economically, they will grow, and that's how the value is created. Now the point is, value is created, but is it responsible enough? Now that's where the question comes. And AI is exactly same thing like a missile or a bomb. You might be able to create value, lot of value out of it. You can always say that, okay, this creates this value, it brings in such economic value, but is it responsible enough? And that's where the trust and ethics part comes. That's where privacy and compliance comes. That's where the security part comes. Now just imagine that if regulations, it is not following certain regulations, privacy regulations, how much fines organizations might have to go ahead with. In case if it breaches trust and ethics, what will happen to the brand reputation or reputational damage? Now that's where is the point is that it is just like walking in a dark room without knowing where am I going to hit. And that same thing doesn't happen with you when you are in your own house, where even if it is dark, you know where things are. So if we go by the governance, AI governance basically it opens up the entire array of things which is there as part of the AI initiative or model, and it tells you that it's not a black box. There are ways to manage it, there are ways to govern it. The moment I know that, yes, I know what is the logic, I know who is accountable if something goes wrong, I know that what is the data from where it is, based on what data it is making decisions, and that's where I think getting data ready, Ashish talked about. So all those things, if we put in place, and that's where AI becomes more transparent, traceable, trustworthy, ethical, all those things happens. And then that's where actually governance comes in picture. So now coming to the core question, the difference between data and AI governance. Let's think about data governance. What exists? Data catalog, which captures business terms, which captures technical metadata, which captures lineage and so on. The same thing happens with the model part as well, so which is the logic. So basically I'm talking about three parts. One is model, which is the logic. It is using some data, the training data, and the third is the output coming out of it. If we can just put a governance around these three different areas, that's where entire governance picture will come and everything is safe and secure. So now, if you can just highlight that particular slide. Now this is little, I know everybody is looking towards that cryptic kind of text. Don't look at it. So basically here what I am trying to highlight is that all the blue boxes, so basically this is a solution blueprint which we have created, and in this solution blueprint there are four layers are there. On left hand side, starting from the bottom, organized fingerprint, integrated control functions, privacy compliance and govern function. Of course there is a framework is there. I'm not getting into that because yesterday there was a session I talked about framework and high level solution blueprint. This is a little detailed one. So here if you look at in all these layers, I just want to focus on organize and fingerprint. The blue boxes, they are all associated primarily to the data governance part. So they are the capabilities. Now if you look at the yellow ones, yellow boxes basically, those are the capabilities required for model governance or say AI initiative. And that's where there are certain capabilities are there which are associated to model governance, there are certain capabilities associated to data governance. Now, if I have to think about just one particular thing, maybe this will be easier to understand. Model catalog, data catalog. In data catalog, I have technical metadata like your simple like format and business metadata like who's the owner, what is the definition associated to it. The same thing goes with model catalog as well. There could be thousands of models will be there. Now you might be thinking thousands of models. Now today, organizations are trying to build their own models. Going forward in next 2 to 3 years, it is not going to be the same way. Organizations will be using certain tools which will come with their own set of models, maybe 10,000 models. They will say that you have a use case 1 or problem 1, you have model 1. You have use case 2 or a problem 2, model 2.
Hello.
So, yeah. So, I don't know, I'm not...
No, you are way ahead of time.
Yeah,
So, better make it fast.
Yeah. So, basically, there will be a metadata, a lot of metadata will be captured. Now, that's where is the difference between data governance and AI governance. And that's where we will put through all the principles of trust, ethics, privacy, compliance, and security, all of them as part of AI governance.
Thanks,
So,
Anup.
yeah.
So Venkat, coming to you. So you talked about the journey. Talked about how it was not at all easy for Southern company to go through with whole siloed data set, so many different companies. So why don't you talk about the journey that you have taken? And second, what are the challenges that you are facing and actually still, which you addressed? And I'm sure there are more challenges that you're facing when it comes to AI adoption. So that would something be very beneficial for this team.
Sure. Yeah. So we had I would characterize this journey as on a two-pronged approach. We had like many companies, we also, there were some champions in the business that wanted to try some machine learning based algorithms and predictive solutions. So that's what kind of catapulted us into trying to create a predictive solution first around, like I said, safety being the top priority for a utility and a gas company. So we wanted to understand how many leaks would come out, right? So we, from a compliance perspective, we do surveys, right, across the whole footprint of our territories. So when we do that, sometimes we do it every year, every other year, right, depending on the regulatory need. So we are likely to find some leaks when you do surveys. And so it's better to know how many are we going to get so that we can plan our resources and make prioritization decisions as to how we would go and remediate, and even better, prevent those leaks from happening going forward. So that's required, as you can imagine, bringing master data about our assets and bringing survey data, transactional data. And at that time, we didn't have a central data warehouse with all this data. So we had to cobble together a solution, which again, we also didn't have a cloud presence. I'm talking 2019, 2020. So we had to, but nevertheless, we wanted to see the promise of the machine learning algorithms and the accuracy that we can get. And that was a fairly good, reasonably good, successful POC and use case. So we implemented that. But we realized while doing that, wouldn't it be good to really have a centralized lakehouse? And so Databricks was on the cusp of promoting that. And so we embarked on that journey. We did another POC trying to figure out what does it take to implement a cloud data lakehouse. And so ever since, so we were not satisfied. We brought in some use cases and certain domains of data. When we started, we brought in some customer data. But then we didn't want to go through this repetitive, manually intensive, code-intensive exercise. So we created some metadata-based reusable frameworks to ingest data and transform that, and eventually publish this out for self-service analytics. That was our goal. We wanted our business users to actually come and get the data themselves. It was very apparent. Almost 80% of the time by business users is spent in wrangling the data. And not necessarily, their job was to really do some analysis, get some insights, and help make some decisions. When in fact, there's a majority of these analysts were spending a lot of time wrangling with the data. So we wanted to first solve that problem, so we created a reusable framework and a cloud data platform that now becomes the backbone of our data platform, what we call Edge. And along those lines, seeing this momentum helped us, our leadership, see the promise of this. And they really championed and brought in, they created a new position, a chief data officer position, which is in itself a great step. As a utility company, having a chief data officer actually on the business leadership side propelled us to the next level. So he was a great champion, and he would have the vision, and he would challenge the technologists and the data practitioners to, he would bring use cases and challenges. So along those lines, we then moved into natural language processing. So we now have some data that, right, think of us as all the field activities that happen, right? Technicians go out, they turn on, turn off gas, inspect meters, inspect pipelines, what have you. When they do that, right, when they come back, they would write some comments, and someone had to sit there, right? As a supervisor, someone had to go through those comments and say, what are they saying in these comments? Or did they identify a leak, or was there any other risk? And so we had to create some indigenous libraries. This is one of the challenges in the utility industry, I would say, that we don't necessarily have common reusable language libraries and models. And so that's a starting point, right? So every utility feels that they are unique, but essentially there are new consortiums that are coming together that enable us to collaborate on this, right? Gas utilities have some common language that they use that others may not understand. So we built a natural language processing chatbot type of solution, so that allows us to go through, and we were only sampling before this, right? And so if you do 1,000 orders a day, you're not going to sit there and read through 1,000 order comments. So now this automated that idea and we can give recommendations on where some of these anomalies could be. And so then we moved on to the unstructured data. So we did another POC with video and images recently. And so when we do inspect our assets, gas carrying assets, into the health of those assets, we're able to take that video and using computer vision, identify anomalies and risks with respect to assets. So this evolution, right? But all this, the backbone, I would still say, is preparing the data. And that's the theme that I wanted to get back to, right? You can try one-off POCs here and there with separated siloed data, but to truly get the value of an integrated data set, you need to have that platform that allows you to get across multiple domains of data, right? So in our world, generally you can think of from a utility company, right? And we have customer data, we have asset data, and we have field activity data. They can be in their own data warehouses. They were for some time. But when we bring them together in a cloud data platform and then integrate that and curate that, the insights that you can draw from those are much more valuable than otherwise. So.
Thanks, Venkat. I think that really explains how the preparation journey that you went through from a data perspective. So, Anup, you have only 2.5 minutes for this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a client story or an industry example who went through from a data governance to an AI governance, and let's keep it crisp.
Yeah. So this is an example from one of the telecom vendors or telecom companies with whom we are working, and it's one of the largest companies. Now, maybe we can go to, So here when we started, basically we started with data governance and very standard data governance activities we used to do. But soon we realized that there are certain initiatives from an AI perspective the organization is working on. And that's where we figured out there are 3 stages to the overall governances. One is from a data, which has been done currently, and they are quite mature, and we are helping them to scale it up. Second is that while we are scaling it up, how we can help them with automations or AI related features within the data governance itself. And that's where this is the second piece of work. And then that's where actually we started working on AI initiatives which are not related to data governance or data, but within the organization. It could be just like the chatbot, I think what Venkat was talking about, or the search, basically the co-pilot type of search. And that's where actually those initiatives have been working on, and they wanted, and there are multiple initiatives, or maybe these type of AI initiatives might run into like thousands of initiatives over the period of time. And that's where they wanted help that, okay, how do I organize myself? And from there onwards, we started working with them, helping them creating charter, creating the organization, AI organization, what will be the accountabilities, what will be the responsibilities of those individuals. That's where we started. So if you look at the right-hand side, the traditional data governance to AI in governance, and then finally we are defining and designing the governance in AI. I think it's little hidden, AI charter and AI governance policies, standards, which we are building there.
Thanks, Anup. So, Venkat, a quick question for you. I think Databricks has been a key foundation to help you with the journey. So, talk about how Databricks has actually, as a technology, helped you with this journey and AI enablement. That's one. And second, a utility like yourself, and as you called out, has so many business challenges, right? So, how much of technology in general needs to evolve more to address those business challenges?
Sure. So as we think about the siloed data management and data analytics challenge, right? So we needed to consolidate and get into a cloud data warehouse. And so when we looked at the landscape of the technology around 2019, you can imagine, right? We have these traditional BI, ETL tools that we have had for 10, 15 years. And then we had this big data tool set that came along, right? And so we understood, we have had experience with both of them, and neither of them, for different reasons, would suit the purpose of building an enterprise data platform, especially that is capable of dealing with structured as well as semi-structured and unstructured data, right? So that led us to evaluating cloud-based technologies. And so we were already preview to some of the Azure components within our company. So then we did a POC with Databricks. And so ADLS for storage made sense. So, and then Databricks from a compute perspective and a processing perspective. And then at that time, we still left, we were not counting on the visualizations aspect. So we still have been using Power BI, as well as we developed our own front end using React.js and Angular that basically delivers the metrics. Many ideas and light bulbs have gone up in the last 3 days at this conference as to what Databricks is evolving. I was feeling good about they are hearing this feedback, right? And they know what customers are looking for, and they're starting to fill gaps and make it a much more integrated platform. So that's the good part of it. But so we did the Databricks evaluation. We had support from Microsoft, the client success architects, and so back then, obviously, Unity Catalog was not there, so the RBAC and rollback access control was an issue. I'm glad Unity Catalog is here, that as a utility company dealing with compliance and regulation, it is paramount that we have to have better governance, both on the data side as well on the AI side. So Databricks inherently became again, in the cloud platform architecture, they play a very critical role. And I see them advancing in that, in our footprint going forward because of the capabilities that they bring and the ease of use. One distinguishing factor, I would say, that made a difference in selecting Databricks back then is the collaborative nature that it brings. It was not a developer's platform alone, right? It allows for business users and data practitioners to come together and collaborate. And so we had a unique organizational model where we partner on the technology on the business side. We created a data team, and which is an experiment, which is paying dividends. So when that happens, you needed a certain ecosystem and the technology and the tooling that supports that collaboration. And Databricks is uniquely positioned to do that. And so we have used their interactive workspaces, we have used their engineering workspaces, they've served different purposes for self-service analytics and the like. So I think, yeah, they have earned their place in our architecture.
Thanks, Venkat. So Anup, the final question for you, and you know the time that you have in front of you. So let's talk about a story where, look, everybody cannot start from data governance and go governance. So what about organizations who have not invested much on data governance, what they should do?
So ideally, if you look at one of the clients, one of the clients where we started working on AI governance, and the primary problem they had was that multiple initiatives they have. Now, how to govern it? How do I manage over the period of time? How do I review it? How do I update those initiatives? Or in case if those initiatives has to be monitored. How should I do that? And that's where the question was, and that's where we have helped them in terms of like creating a system through which actually they will be doing the entire life cycle of AI initiatives. And for that, of course, we have helped them build multiple different assets on policies, standards, and the roles, responsibilities, which I just talked about in the last case study as well. So here, this is one of the food products company for which we have done created multiple different assets. So typically, to start with, track your initiatives, and that tracking of initiatives across the initiative life cycle. That's the starting point.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody? Let's open it up for questions. Yeah. Thank you.